Hi, I'm Lindsey.
And I'm Charlie.
And this is the Jug O Sip podcast.
You can find the Jug O Sip podcast on YouTube and Spotify every Monday and Friday.
And don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and follow at Jug O Sip podcast on all social media.
Okay. So, just real quick, before we begin, I want people to know something about this podcast. These episodes are numbered, but that don't mean nothing.
Don't pay attention. That's for us. That's files.
Yeah, that's just a way for us to keep track of the episodes. So if this comes out, I think this one is number 13. If we release this before the other ones before it, don't worry.
Pay no mind.
Yeah, you didn't necessarily miss anything. It's mainly so we could track which episode, what order was what.
I'm in charge of social media. He's in charge of the YouTube. It's just a way for him to tell me what episodes, thumbnails, and trailers or whatever I need to upload. It's just how we have it filed.
Yeah, we're definitely not a series. You don't have to watch us in order. Just pick whichever one you like the most. And
honestly, it's completely irrelevant. And if we have a follow-up, we'll just put part 2 if we need to. And we'll post them back to back.
Exactly. That being said, the latest movie in the series of movies by Adam Sandler called Uncut Gems was the shit.
And it's releasing soon on Netflix.
It's actually releasing Monday, May 15th on Netflix. And we just wanted to talk about that because this movie was amazing. It was so good.
It was very heavy.
God.
It was definitely one of those movies that, like, I have to be in the right state of mind to watch it, but God, did I love it. But see, the thing is, I'm very into Adam Sandler. During the early 2000s, it was really popular to shit on him and sleep on him.
It was?
But there was a phase of people who were, like, shitting on Adam Sandler. And here's the thing. I never did. Even if his movies weren't that great, like I never saw movies like Bedtime Stories or Jack and Jill. But the thing is, it's like Jim Carrey. Not every fucking movie is going to be a winner, but he himself does a great job every time. Jack and Jill looked like a stupid ass film, and I say that as an Adam Sandler fan. But it didn't look like he did a bad job doing it. It just. That's not my shit.
It looked like a bad concept that was executed poorly.
In fact, Uncut Gems is Charles's favorite Adam Sandler film. Mine is
right now, yeah.
Mine's a completely different spectrum. It's a Big Daddy.
My favorite film previous to that was The Waterboy.
I was going to say Waterboy is my second favorite, which is something he and I have in common. Waterboy is like our second favorite Adam Sandler movie. And it's also because I'm a huge Kathy Bates and Fairuza Balk fan.
Let's tell them real quick what Uncut Gems is about.
Why don't you do it? Because you have a better way of putting the synopsis.
Sure. Okay. Well, I'm not gonna give you too much because there's a lot of detail going on in Uncut Gems.
It's very easy to give too much away by accident.
But here's the synopsis. Basically, there's this man who owns a jewelry store in the Diamond District. He owns a very high-end jewelry store. He sells to exclusive clients, like people who are in the NBA, celebrities, things like that.
Yeah.
And he's a Jewish guy. Many of the characters that Adam Sandler plays, most of them are Jewish.
Because he is Jewish.
Yeah, representation's important. That being said, he owns this jewelry store, and he has a problem with gambling. And his gambling problem gets him into trouble.
Lots of it.
That's all I'm going to say.
It causes a huge chain of reactions in his life, basically. Idina Menzel's in it, playing his wife, who I am a huge fan of Idina Menzel.
She did a very good job.
AKA Adele Dazeem.
Adele Dazeem did an amazing job in that movie.
No, I mean, everybody.
The wickedly talented.
The wickedly talented Adele Dazeem. No, every person in that movie did a fantastic job.
Yeah.
I had zero complaints about the movie. It was a very heavy film. We went to go see it with my parents, my stepmom, and my dad.
Their reaction to the movie was so funny. Your dad, when we finished watching that movie...
My dad was like, well, I didn't like that.
He was like, that was the weirdest movie I've ever seen in my life.
That is so cute.
That shit was hilarious.
That was so cute. But like Charlie and I were definitely into it.
We didn't even know the movie existed before we went to hang out with your parents that day to see the movie.
I saw the title, but I didn't know what the fuck it meant. And I was like...
The title's not indicative to anything that's happening in that movie.
All I saw was Adam Sandler, and I was like, cool.
His nose is bleeding.
And like Adam Sandler, like for me, is like, yeah, sure, he's hit or miss, but I'm, if given the opportunity to go see his movie, I'll usually go see it.
Yeah.
Especially if I don't know what it's about. Like Jack and Jill didn't look appealing, but if I went in not knowing what Jack and Jill was about, I would have seen it because I enjoy Adam.
Yeah.
Adam Sandler, actually, there's a cute story about Adam Sandler I love that he told. He used to have this dog named Meatball.
Meatball? Okay.
Bulldog.
Yeah.
And he's a big bulldog fan. He likes dogs, and he's an animal lover, but he likes bulldogs.
Right.
English bulldogs specifically. The fat roly-polies with the cute snaggle teeth.
Oh yeah.
Cutie pies. Well, when Meatball died, one night his wife was like, come into the kitchen, I made matzo ball soup and I want you to see it. And he's like, the fuck? He's like, I'm a Jewish kid. Like, I've seen matzo ball soup like a million times. What the fuck you making me get out of my chair for? You know, typical husband-wife shit. And I'm paraphrasing. But he walked into the kitchen and she had a bulldog puppy.
Yeah.
That she had named Matzo Ball for him after Meatball died. And I thought that was such...
That's adorable.
Yeah, like that. And I think very highly of him. And...
yeah, Adam Sandler, he's been a kind of a staple for my life in terms of filmmaking and comedy movies in general. He's always made some really good movies. The Waterboy. First of all, The Waterboy is one of my all-time favorite comedy movies in general.
Also, Henry Winkler was great in that too. I forgot to mention how much I love him.
And Kathy Bates. Well,
Kathy Bates, Fairuza Balk, Henry Winkler, and that was such a great cast in that movie.
Right.
And I like how that movie didn't take it. So I like it when Adam Sandler doesn't take himself too seriously.
Yeah.
I mean, I love his drama roles, but like, one thing I really liked about Big Daddy for me was the fact that it was one part comedy and one part very like warm thing. Because the thing is, on some level, his character Sonny's pretty relatable. Yeah. Sonny's a slacker. He works in a toll booth. Doesn't really have a real job. He lives in this great apartment in the village, but that's only because his roommate is his best friend who basically takes care of him, who's a fucking lawyer, you know. For those of you guys who don't know what the village or the Diamond District are, both Uncut Gems and Big Daddy take place in New York City. Those are districts here. And yeah, and the village is a very beautiful place, very pro-gay. It's very artsy, but it used to be where the poor artist lives, and now it's where like really high-end people live, but they're usually people who are interested in the arts or rather avant-garde types of people. Imagine Edna Mode. That's the kind of person you see living in the village now. Right. Or like really cute gay couples. Yeah. But that said, so, you know, Sonny was a slacker, fucked around, and, you know, his roommate happened to go to China, I think it was. China or Japan, I forget which one. I think it was somewhere in Asia, in the Asian continent. And he found out while he was away, Sonny found out that Kevin had a son, Julian. Yeah. That he didn't know about. The mother had tragically died of cancer. And Julian was 5 years old, played by Cole and Dylan Sprouse, who I also love. Yeah. And also kind of look like, that's irrelevant. Shout out to them. So anyway, Sonny takes on this responsibility for this kid and ends up like falling in love with this kid, like really having genuine paternal feelings, and actually lies about his identity just so he could try to keep this kid. And his fuck up shit gets him in so much trouble trying to be responsible and stuff like that. And eventually he gets his shit together because of this kid. Yeah. But it's such a beautiful story for those who have not really got their life together and were influenced and inspired by somebody who needed them more. Yeah. And it always makes me cry. I want to cry just talking about it because it was just like such a sweet story. And that's why that one's my favorite. Mm-hmm. And I like Waterboy because it's ridiculous. And like I said, I love the cast. And let me explain Waterboy. Now, Waterboy, because, you know, Lindsey relates to Big Daddy because Big Daddy, it kind of... It stirs those maternal feelings while, you know, provoking my inner comic / slacker kid. But you also kind of felt like that kid, too. Which one? The kid from Big Daddy. You Julian? Yeah, Julian. You know, you were kind of in a situation where you were made to feel like you were alone in the world and you wanted somebody to come and just step in and help you get through it all. I related to both of them. And it was, you know, it was a really beautiful story. Now, in the case of the Waterboy, I didn't, when I initially first saw the movie, I didn't relate to Bobby Boucher at all, which is the name of the main character that Adam Sandler plays in that movie. I love Bobby so much. Bobby Boucher. I didn't relate to him at all when it first came out, when I first saw it. But when I saw it a second time, well, not a second time, but years later, because I've seen that movie something like 50 or 60 times. But when I saw it years later, I had a better understanding of what my home life and my childhood actually was, like the real scope of it. And on that, I started to relate to the fact that Bobby was this... It was this young man who was very passionate about a strange thing. He was very socially awkward because he was isolated toward his mom or around his mom, who sheltered him a lot. This sheltering turned into his inability to... He wasn't properly educated. He wasn't grown up enough. He wasn't very adult. He was like a very well-meaning man-child that was sitting on a lot of talent and potential. Yeah, and I can say that there was a time in my life where I felt like that. I felt like there was too much negative influence of my mom on me. My future was in jeopardy because of what she couldn't see or wouldn't see. There were also things like
I felt like I had a lot of potential. I thought I was very intelligent and fairly talented, but my sense of character, my prospects were limited because I just didn't have the life experience or the depth of character to make anything of myself with any of the things that I thought I could do.
But you had passions and you had interests, just like Bobby had in football.
Well, like Bobby, who had Henry Winkler, who saw the best in Bobby and wanted to help him, move forward.
It figured out a way to make him proactive.
Bobby Boucher had a mentor, and I collected mentors. One of my mentors, he lives in the same building as me, but
he's our friend and landlord.
Yeah, he's our landlord and everything. But I've collected a lot of mentors over the years, and often the biggest lesson I took out of The Waterboy is that often you need a little bit of help to see the best of yourself.
For me, it's really interesting that you say you relate to Bobby Boucher because I have always related to Vicky Valancourt.
Vicky Valancourt?
Yeah, let me explain.
I can see that.
Let me explain why. Because Vicky is a very sweet girl.
Played by Fairuza Balk.
Who is one of my biggest influences as an actress and as a human being. I feel like on some level, I just really relate to this girl. Now, Vicky is very misunderstood. She's a very sweet girl and very loyal and very devoted to Bobby. And she's just such a good person, but she shit on and treated like white trash and told she was a whore, told she was satanic, told all this shit. But all she really wanted to do was be with a man she loved and just chill the fuck out.
Yeah.
And I was treated a lot like that. I was treated like a pariah most of my life because people thought I was bad news because of how I looked or how I carried myself. And at the end of the day, just like Vicky Valancourt, I'll fucking kill someone for you. And that's just, like, not literally, but I'll tear someone's fucking head off for you. Like,
isn't there a scene where she holds up the side?
Like, want me to kill them? That's like literally me as a friend and as a partner. Like, I am so fiercely devoted to those I love that if someone tries to fuck with them, I'm like, you want to throw down? I'll fight you myself. Like, I don't give a fuck. And I've always had that bravery the same way that Vicky had, because Vicky was brave because she was shit on most of her life. And when you've been shit on most of your life and people doubt you, it just makes you not give a fuck anymore.
What ended up happening in The Waterboy is when Bobby Boucher... Well, the reason they called him the water boy is because that's what he was. He was a water boy for a college or a high school, I think. No, it was a college, right?
Football team, I believe.
It was a college football team. He was the water boy, and he was extremely good at his job. He was incredibly passionate. He knew things about water that most people just couldn't even comprehend.
Like, it was just, he was like a weird water savant.
Yes, but the thing is with him is he had a lot of repressed anger. And one day, that repressed anger exploded, and he tackled somebody. And he tackled him with a force that was even better than any of the tackle. I mean, I don't know football terms, but
it was intense.
Yeah, like it was intense. Like he could tackle people better than anybody that was on that team.
Back when I was a cheerleader, it would have definitely made me go, "Oh shit!"
Yeah.
Like no, and the thing is, the trigger incidentally was insulting water.
Yeah, somebody insulted water.
Said water sucks.
Yeah.
And Henry Winkler, his mentor, realized that he was a really good football player, but if he's provoked with anger, he was even better. So he would torment him with phrases like a song like going, "Water sucks. It really, really sucks."
And he was into it, he was in on it rather.
Yeah, like, he knew, but he knew it would help him.
Henry wasn't manipulating him.
It was training.
Yeah, it was a training thing. It was very mutual. Henry Winkler's character explained to Bobby Boucher. Let's find out what was his character's name. Hold up.
Who? Coach Klein?
Coach Klein, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Coach Klein explained to Bobby Boucher that Bobby's source of anger is what would make him good at playing football, what Bobby referred to as foosball.
That's what his mom called it. And that's the thing. We've mentioned this before, like tapping into your inner problems and making him a tool for yourself. That's exactly what Bobby did.
Yes. And Bobby turned this, what was essentially thought of as a negative by a previous coach that he had as a boy. They flash back to that scene.
Yeah.
He turns it into a positive, and he ends up putting himself through school. He couldn't play officially on the team because he just had a job at the school. The only way that he could play is if he was enrolled at the school.
So he had to get enrolled. So
they enrolled him, and based on him playing football, he got a football scholarship that allowed him to build a life.
And he was able to develop an education.
And the reason this was so significant for him is because they show what his home life was, and it is terrible. He lives in a very backwoods home with Mama Boucher. He drives a trailer down a freeway every time he wants to go home from the college. I mean, they live on the equivalent of a bayou that has no income coming in.
She's super religious, so she doesn't believe in traditional education, and she thinks football, anything that isn't Christ-like, is the devil.
There's literally a scene where he asked her as a child, did Benjamin Franklin invent electricity? And she goes, I invented electricity, Bobby. Benjamin Franklin is the devil.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like, it's interesting because Kathy Bates' character reminds me of three mothers that I know.
Yeah.
Well, Kathy Bates looks like my mother. I don't know, like a lot of people don't know that. Kathy Bates, especially now, looked almost identical to my mother. My mom was like a fusion of Kathy Bates and Roseanne.
Yeah.
And that was interesting. And my mom was very like controlling. She wasn't that crazy, but it's interesting because Mama Boucher's weird religious psychosis reminds me a lot of my childhood best friend's mother, who also incidentally reminds me of Kathy Bates' character from Misery.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, and it's funny. My mom looked like Kathy Bates, but my best friend's mom acted like all of those like crazy characters.
Yeah.
And also in a way with, like you mentioned, like your mom was very suffocating of you in that way.
Yeah. My mom, I mean, I haven't
It wasn't that bad.
I haven't spoken a lot about it, but basically my mom was, as a kid when I was growing up, my mom was, she sheltered me a lot, and she was emotionally kind of neglectful to a point where, like, you know, she was the kind of person where she would rather work on a holiday to spend it with me. So I anytime I had a holiday as a kid, I spent it by myself.
You had a pretty sad childhood.
Yeah, when it came to my parents, my mom and dad didn't really live. They didn't live together ever. They weren't married. They weren't romantically involved.
They weren't even really amicable all that much.
My dad did his best to stay in my life, and you know, I still talk to my dad to this day. He's always been in my life.
He's a great guy. I love him.
You know, we just never lived together.
The funky man.
Yeah, they call him what do they call him? They called him the funky man. Yeah,
in the 70s.
I was named after my father. His name's Charles Grant. He's probably listening to this. And in the 1970s, he was a radio personality, which is interesting because I'm doing a podcast right now. He was a radio personality.
Apple doesn't fall far from the tree, Charles.
With an FCC license, he was referred to as Charles W.T. Funky Man Grant. And the
Funky Man?
Yes,
I like that.
The W.T. stood for what?
Did your dad actually invent WTF then?
Oh my God, I think he did. He invented
Somebody
that.
pay this fucking man right fucking now.
Wow.
So he can fund our lives. You know?
Yeah, okay.
Holy fuck pace.
Wow. That's interesting. He needs that check.
Listen, Charles Sr., if you're listening, darling, it's your daughter-in-law. Patent that motherfucking shit now and make your money. You know how much Gentleman's Jack we can buy with that and drink together?
Yeah, but yeah, so, you know, I like I said before, I was pretty much a latchkey kid. We were both
latchkey kids. We were given keys to our houses and told to go fucking home after school and do our homework by ourselves.
I had a babysitter for a brief amount of time. That's a very painful story for another day that I will tell. That's its own thing. After a certain point, I didn't have a babysitter. I think from around 9 years old, I was in the house by myself from 9 on, and I was just raising myself. My mom was at work. Nobody else was home. There were a couple of neighbors that I had in the building that I knew, but I lived on the 5th floor of the building. They lived on the 1st floor of the building, so I didn't see much of them. Yeah. I mean, generally, I was fine. If anything, it taught me to have the kind of solitude that allowed me to survive things like a global pandemic, because it gave me the ability to be okay with my own thoughts.
That's the interesting thing. Charles and I were both left at home. We were both latchkey kids. My parents ran a business, so sometimes I wouldn't see them for like 24 to 48 hours. The only time I saw them is my mom would drop me off at school sometimes, and sometimes I would take the bus, and sometimes I just wouldn't see them for what felt like ever, even when I was like 9 or 10.
And it's crazy because your family's business was right down the road, right?
Yeah, but they were there closing. My mom did most of the work herself. She was very do-it-yourself. So I was doing my own laundry and cooking my own dinner and stuff. So being alone and like with my thoughts and stuff is just, I love it. I've other than like the fear of money, I've enjoyed the isolation and the quarantine time of self-recovery and just being alone with my thoughts. It's quite lovely. Yeah,
it is a lovely thing. If you've ever experienced this as a kid, you probably can relate to just the lovely, the beautiful solitude that you can get.
That meditative feeling of doing what you want when you want.
And if you were kind of a particularly sensitive and deep person, you probably would have found yourself having these profound thoughts that have gone on to define your entire life. I know I'm living on some of those thoughts right now.
Honestly, I mean, all that time alone taught me how to develop hobbies and interests, which led to me being the person I am today and pursuing the goals I'm pursuing now. And I already knew what path I wanted to go on because of all the time I've had to figure myself out.
Bobby Boucher was no exception to this very phenomenon with latchkey kids. He was a very deep and sensitive, intelligent man. He just, he didn't have the social skills for it to be obvious.
And his mom treated him like he was an invalid.
Yeah.
And I can relate to that because when I was diagnosed with epilepsy as a kid,
Yeah.
Because my mom would abuse me when I was a little kid for having tantrums, not knowing they were seizures. It was like a weird guilt thing where suddenly like she starts trying to put me in like 504 plans at school. And like I would try to insist on her I needed different help. And I already knew what I needed, but I wasn't being heard at all.
Right.
And that takes away some of your independence when you're a kid who's perfectly functional and perfectly smart, but people treat you like you're mentally disabled or handicapped or like, and there's nothing wrong with being those things, but if you aren't, you aren't.
A similar thing happened to me where, because I had asthma and I had lots of terrible allergies, I still do. I had eczema. I had a lot of mental.
you were a little twitchy thing.
Yeah, I had a lot of medical issues as a kid. I was sick a lot.
Yeah.
And because of that, my mom didn't like my sisters, because I have 5 siblings, 4 sisters and 1 brother. She didn't like the idea of my sisters taking me out anywhere or going, taking me to the park.
Yeah, she
didn't
very protective.
She didn't like taking me out herself.
She wouldn't let you go outside and play by yourself.
And you can't tell looking at me now, but I was the kind of kid that really enjoyed being outdoors. I liked sports. I wanted to be a skateboarder, but I couldn't do it. In fact, the bigger reason why I play video games is because part of the thing that got me into video games is the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater series. I was addicted to those games because I couldn't go outside as a kid.
Well, and we bonded over the fact that you like skate culture because I was a skater kid. I enjoyed skateboarding. Because I grew up in the rural area, I was outside a lot, and because I was left home alone, even though my family didn't like me to be outside by myself when no one was home, I still went.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was around that shit all the time, but I know what it's like to on the opposite, I was so far away from a city or anything. I never got to go anywhere.
Being isolated in that way led to a lot of personality issues in me personally. For example, it was not easy for me to make friends in school because I just didn't have the social skills to really interact with kids. I always seemed a little bit less mature, a lot more behind when it came to social interactions with the other children. I wasn't naive or anything like that, but I reacted like someone that wasn't around people a lot, and it showed.
I was the same way. And even before I was left home alone a lot, I was always the kid that wanted to go to my room and play by myself. I didn't want people in my fucking face, even when I was a kid.
Yeah.
To the point where it became literally a running joke in my house to my family that to punish me, they didn't send me into my room and isolate me. They made me socialize with people because forcing me to socialize incidentally gave me severe anxiety.
Right.
And I mean, you wouldn't know it by looking at me. I'm a very social and charismatic and fun person, but I'm a lot like Johnny Depp. My persona, my comic side, my actor side, my entertainer persona is very different than who I am as a person. Charles can vouch for that.
Yeah.
Lindsey, myself, is far more quiet and introspective. I'll stand at a party and just listen to you talk, and I'll process things and like make my own judgments and stuff. I'm more outlandish and loud in my performance. And I mean, it's not fake because, when I stand up to people online and do all those things everybody loves, it's coming from a sincere place. But when I'm by myself or with Charles or with people I'm very peaceful around, I listen to music and I sometimes go hours without saying a damn word.
That being said, Bobby Boucher, he was similar. He's similar. He's layered. He was isolated.
He's a beautiful person.
He's a beautiful person. He was passionate about water so much that he actually got water from Antarctica, I think.
Yeah, I remember
that. He kept in a vial, and something about the water made it allowed it to be cold all the time. It was a plot point in that whole movie. He loved it. Yeah, that MacGuffin actually allowed him to come out of a coma that could have given him a really nasty concussion just having a sip of that water.
I forgot about that MacGuffin.
Yeah, that was a good little MacGuffin.
It was a good little movie, and what this all boils down to is, because we're like at the halfway point, is just that Adam Sandler has been and always will be a genius, and on some level, because like Jim Carrey, I feel like Adam Sandler got slept on for a bit because we see this goofy, funny guy, and as he got older, I was actually thinking this a few years back. I'm like, I really hope he takes the way that Jim Carrey did and starts taking more like roles that fit where he's at now in his life and a more dramatic thing, because what'll happen to a lot of comedic actors is either there's 3 things that usually happen. Either they keep that goofy silliness and they don't really change much, but it works for them. Or they're like Jim Carrey and they're like, okay, I've reached a certain point in my career, and as a human being, I'd like to do more serious things. I like to change and grow with my career. Or they're people who try to stay where they're at all the time and it just fucking ruins their career.
Right.
And much like life, Adam Sandler and Jim Carrey both taught me the lesson, not just in acting, but in general. Sometimes you have to go with the ebbs and flows in life and grow and change with where you're at.
Yeah. Sometimes that's how
and
you
if
have to
you
deal
don't,
with it.
it's kind of like when a middle-aged man turns 50 or 45 and he starts buying the sports cars and banging the 21-year-olds and the putting on the bad hair pieces and struggling really hard to stay fucking 21, wearing like little girder things to keep their waist smaller and hide it under their fucking shirts.
Oh, the girdles.
Well, yeah, for men.
Yeah.
They, when they start trying to force themselves to look like they did when they were 21, instead of being like, I'm getting a little bit of a middle-aged man spread, I should work out and, but do it in a healthy way. A lot of men get to that point where they look at their wives and they're like, wow, my wife's in her prime now, so I'm just going to cheat on her with someone younger as an insecurity thing. It's
crazy you even say that because that happened in Uncut Gems.
Yeah. And the actress who played his girlfriend.
Her name's Julia Fox.
Julia Fox. She's relatively newish, and she's very good.
I think that was her premiere role.
Yeah, and she actually kind of reminds me of the girl who plays Tara from Buffy. I actually thought it was her, but I'm like, there's no way she's that young still.
Yeah.
But she was great.
Yeah, no, she did a very good job.
But unfortunately,
also, The Weeknd was in this movie. He did good too.
Yeah, he did. But the reason Adam's character, what's his name? Shit, totally left my brain.
Oh, I'll look it up. Go.
Oh yeah. Adam Sandler had that. His character had that affair
in the movie.
Howard Ratner
is Howard Ratner.
When Howard slept with that younger woman, it wasn't because so much that he was insecure because his wife was in her prime or anything like that. In this case, he was unhappy in his marriage because his wife was sick of his gambling problem. So he starts putting his dick in a younger woman to distract himself from the fact that he's ruining his own life, right. Which also does happen sometimes. But because he couldn't embrace where he was and couldn't face he had a problem, it ended up ultimately spiraling and ruining his fucking life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And not to give too much away, I really recommend people see this movie because it's not predictable. There's a lot of layers to what fucking happens. You're going to be on the edge of your seat the whole time. It's fucking stressful as hell. It's you feel like you're going through this fucking, the worst part is you feel like you're going through his addiction with him, but you have control over it and he doesn't.
It feels like the movie just doesn't stop. Like the second, it's really interesting because if you look at a movie like Fast and the Furious, what's happening on the scene is literally fast things going.
Right.
But in this movie, what's happening on the scene, in the screen is actually slower things happening, but the pacing of the film, the editing and the directing is
You're on that journey with him.
Where it feels like his life won't stop. And that's the whole emotional...
It's a spiral.
Yeah, the structure of the film is reflective of the emotional state that Howard Ratner is in.
And it's based on a true story, too, which is really interesting.
Yeah, his brain never stops. It's always going. It's always trying to figure out what that next thing is to do, which is why he has so much success in the first place, but it's also why he gets in so much trouble.
And that's the thing. It's like the whole movie feels like a really well-written anxiety attack.
That's a really good, yeah. It's like a well-written anxiety
I left that theater. I was with my parents and Charles. We walked out of the theater. I put my coat on and I shakily pull a joint out of my pockets and start smoking. And I'm like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah.
Because first of all, I am I'm a very introspective and calm person generally. So watching someone ruin their life when I have so much control over mine and I've stopped myself from making horrible mistakes and stuff, and you're on this journey with this person ruining their lives, it's like watching your friend ruin their life and there's nothing you can fucking do about it.
Right.
And you're like, what? And I mean, even though Howard's kind of a piece of shit, you sympathize with this character a lot. Adam really makes this character very layered, and it's like, I don't know what the real Howard Ratner was like, but fucking titty fucking Christ, dude.
Yeah.
Like, that movie, I just can't speak enough about it, and just Adam's performances. And I just gotta be real. Adam, I am so fucking proud of you. If you ever hear this podcast, I'm so fucking proud of you because you've made so many leaps and bounds. Even there were so many people who didn't believe in you. It didn't fucking matter. You've made such a prominent and wonderful career for yourself at every phase of it.
I didn't know Uncut Gems was based on a true story.
I just said that a second ago.
I know but you did say that. I didn't know that. I'm just saying. I didn't.
Yeah, look it up.
Well, yeah, I'll look it up in a minute.
Yeah, just make sure, because I'm pretty sure I read that somewhere.
Yeah, let me...
I just want to, I don't like to be wrong.
Uncut Gems based...
I think it's based on a true story.
On true story. Let's see.
It was not.
No, it's
okay.
not. It's not based on any true story, although extensive ESPN footage used in the movie gives it...
Then that was my mistake, guys.
Shutters some authenticity.
That was my mistake, guys. I swear to God, I thought it was based on a true story or on a real guy.
The script we are told by screenwriters and co-director Josh and Benny Safdie was created around those games, not because of them. Oh, I see. Okay.
Well, here's the thing. What's great, and I mean, I'm wrong. I was wrong, which I'm glad I made you double check. I wanted to double check. What's so great about it, it could be a real story.
Yeah.
It felt real. It felt like if someone had called me and said this happened to somebody I knew or happened to somebody right here in the city, it looked like a fucking news report.
Yeah.
Fucking like insane. And I mean, I just, like I said, I just can't say enough how great that fucking movie was.
That movie is so good. And again, it's coming out, Adam Sandler's Uncut Gems is coming out on Netflix May 15th. I'll double confirm here, but which is Monday.
We really try hard to get our facts straight here.
Yeah, but it's coming out May 15th. You need to watch this movie.
What other Adam Sandler movies do you like? Because we touched on Big Daddy. I really, like I said, I love Big Daddy. I love Waterboy. Uncut Gems was superb.
Well, one movie I really want to talk about is a movie that when it initially came out, a lot of people didn't like.
Which was what?
8 Crazy Nights.
I never not liked that movie.
I thought that movie was great.
But I went in knowing it was going to be goofy, and in fact, it was actually less goofy than I anticipated going by the trailer.
When 8 Crazy Nights came out, I went in. First of all, I saw it on HBO. When one of the moments when my mom had cable, I saw it on HBO. I didn't know anything about this movie at all, but it looked like a cool Christmas movie that was animated. And I'm like, well, look, I'm not really into Christmas type movies, but this one looks good. Let me check it out. I'm so glad that I did because it's one of the best Christmas movies I've ever seen. It's an excellent animated film. Adam Sandler plays a bunch of people. It's a really good movie.
And actually, you know what? I kind of roughly knew what it was, but one of the reasons that made me want to watch it was A, I was an Adam fan, but 2, I wanted to see a movie about Hanukkah. I wanted to see a movie that wasn't fucking Christmas because I've never been a Christmas person. My mom loved Christmas. Fucking society, fucking white people love Christmas. I am not one of those white people. I'm one of those white people that like Halloween. Right. So, and 420. But, yes, 8 Crazy Nights was wonderful. I'm going to touch on another one that's actually, like, I would say probably my third favorite. Yeah. Which was 50 First Dates.
Oh, that was a good-ass movie.
And
that was good.
I am hella gay for Drew Barrymore. Love her so much. I want to be her best friend. I think she's great. Yeah. And she and Adam had such a wonderful chemistry, and she did so good playing Lucy in that. And if you guys don't know what that one's about, it's about a girl who has a memory issue because she had a severe car accident years ago. Her family just plays along with her illness, and they like make her believe every day is the same day, kind of like Groundhog Day, except she doesn't know. Right. And the tradition was, she got up, she went out and bought a pineapple. They gave her the same newspaper every day. She repainted the garage every day. They repainted it white every night so she could start from scratch. It was really, really beautiful, actually. Sean Astin actually plays her brother, who plays he's in so many movies. He's in the Goonies. He's in Lord of the Rings. Mm-hmm. Another person I'm a big fan of. And the movie was silly, but there was a lot of, they touched on a real disease that Lucy had, which it's a type of amnesia. I cannot ironically remember the name of it.
Retrograde amnesia.
Yes. And it was genuinely so beautiful. And when Adam Sandler's character was trying to pursue her, he realized that, she wouldn't remember him and stuff. So every day he made her, a videotape. Yeah. It was so cute. And one other thing I really love about Adam Sandler movies is he always brings Rob Schneider. Yeah. And I love, and
they had a little bit of a falling out for a while too.
Well, Rob Schneider, and who was he also did Steve Buscemi.
Rob Schneider, Steve Buscemi, and recently Kevin Smith.
Yes, and
shout out to Kevin Smith.
We're also a huge fan of all of those, especially Steve Buscemi. I had a friend.
Kevin Smith?
Did you say Kevin Smith?
I meant Kevin James.
Oh, did he work with Kevin Smith recently? That's what I was wondering.
Wait a minute. Let me just look this up. Okay, Kevin.
I thought there was a project I didn't know about. Yeah, he did a movie with Kevin James.
Yeah, it's Kevin James. We like Kevin Smith too. There's a lot of people named Kevin.
I just thought maybe there was a Kevin Smith project coming I didn't know about.
God, Adam Sandler and Kevin Smith. That would be amazing. I would just straight
nut all over the walls.
Silent Bob and Bobby Boucher. Hell yeah.
Oh, fuck it. The Bobs.
The Bobs.
Do it, guys. Come on.
Yeah.
I want to be in it, though. That's the deal. That's the fucking deal. Now, so yeah, 50 First Dates. Again, like you'll probably notice a pattern. A lot of his movies I really like are the ones that really had like some intimate and emotional stuff in it as well.
Right.
Also a big fan of Billy Madison.
Billy Madison was good. I haven't seen that too many times.
But that one also was really ridiculous. Kind of like Little Nicky. I love Little Nicky.
Oh, yeah, Little Nicky.
Those were also really ridiculous movies, but they were really great. What I liked about Billy Madison is it didn't take himself too seriously. And I like the concept of a fucking irresponsible loser adult having to like try to get his education and start over. It was kind of awesome.
One movie I liked, another movie, and this was another one that I heard a lot of people didn't like, was actually Click.
I hated that one.
Yeah, you didn't like Click.
No, sorry, Adam. Like, if Adam ever hears this, I'm not trying to shit on any of your projects. Just some did not connect with others.
I was into Click. I thought it was a good movie. It wasn't the most amazingly told story,
I thought it could have been done
thought
better.
It was cool.
I kind of felt the same way about Mr. Deeds. Like, it could have been done better. I did enjoy Mr. Deeds better than Click.
I enjoyed Mr. Deeds better than Click as well.
Another one I really liked that he did with Drew Barrymore again was The Wedding Singer.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Okay, so The Wedding Singer actually I have a hilarious story about The Wedding Singer that's fun to tell. So when I was in middle school, the kids in my class, we had such a small class. There were only 28 kids in my class, like 7th grade through 12th grade, really. So we had like a lot of sleepovers, like where there was this boy and this girl that lived down the street from each other. So the girls would go to the girls' house and sleep over and the boys would go to the boys' house.
Yeah.
But for hours before we all had to go over to each other's, go back to the main houses we were staying at, we'd go to the boys' basement and watch TV.
Yeah.
And watch movies and stuff. And I remember one night, we were all trying to be big tough kids and they put in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the remake.
Oh,
and there's that scene where the girl pulls the gun out of her pussy and then shoots herself in the head. Oh. And all of us started screaming and we're like, we don't want to watch this. And we ended up putting on The Wedding Singer. And not only did we put on The Wedding Singer, but we put on the karaoke edition where we sang all the songs.
Yeah.
So we had this one friend named Danny Amon who was a very small boy when we were in school. I mean, there was like, he told, stories about how he was involved with jackass stunts where kids would put him in a suitcase like Wee Man and throw him down the stairs. I went to school with some weird kids, but it was really a lot of fun. And we got Danny to sing, "Do you really want to hurt me? Do you really want to make me cry?"
I have a question. Did you see The Ridiculous Six?
Yes, and I actually loved it.
Because I didn't see that one.
You know who deserves a lot of props for that movie was Taylor Lautner.
Did he do good in that? He did a good job in that?
Taylor really, because the thing is, I was never a fan of him, and it wasn't personal to him. He seems like a very cool guy.
Well, I wasn't in his demographic. I wasn't a fan of his either,
well,
but I wasn't
Twilight,
in his demographic.
And I not that he's not a good actor, and I never really enjoyed. I never saw the Shark Boy Lava Girl movie or anything. But when I saw Ridiculous Six, I saw this guy who spent most of his career being just like the regulation hottie, be a goofy son of a bitch. And I like people who are like regulation hotties that can take themselves not too seriously and have fun.
Like The Rock.
Like The Rock.
And John Cena.
Yeah, there's so many people out there. Like Johnny Depp's like that. Johnny Depp's a very attractive man, but he's played like so many different disguised characters. Now, there was one I've never seen, which was I Now Pronounce You Chuck and Larry. I've been wanting to see that one. I have not. I have
seen that movie. And let me just say right now, a lot of people, I don't know how many exactly, but there were a good amount of people that thought that this movie was offensive to the gay community. Because the concept of the movie is that these two straight men who are friends, one of them has children, and they're both firefighters, first of all. One of the firefighters has children, and he feels that the children are in danger of basically getting absorbed by the foster care system or not having anyone to take care of them if he were to die. The only person that he trusts with his children and with his life happens to be his best friend, who is also a firefighter.
Pro-gay, to be honest. I mean, because not to disrespect the gay community.
His best friend was Adam Sandler, the man with the kids. That was Kevin James. Now, in the fictional universe, at the time in the real world, gay marriage had not become. It didn't pass yet.
This was kind of on its way.
Yeah, it was on its way. This is before gay marriage was an officially federally sanctioned thing in the United States. But in the universe of this film, gay marriage happened a little bit earlier. And the two of them thought, well, what if we just got married? That way, if something were to happen to your children, I could take care of them. I love your kids. They already call me uncle. I see them as a niece and nephew.
They're already family.
We're family, but legally I will not be able to protect them like family unless we have this document set up ahead of time.
Okay.
So the whole thing was about the kids in the first place.
So it sounds like two guys that were actually so comfortable with their sexuality that they were willing to help take care of each other when they didn't have anybody else.
Yes. Now,
actually, that's kind of sweet.
Now, what ended up happening is that in order to maintain gay marriage, or the gay marriage that they were a part of, within the universe, they had like a gay marriage inspector, I guess. I think she was played by Jessica Biel.
Oh, kind of like what they do for like immigration marriages, where
it's
they
a
want
lot
to make sure
like
it's legitimate.
It's a lot like immigration. They wanted to test the legitimacy,
and it worked for the story.
So in order to test the legitimacy and in order to protect the kids, Adam Sandler and Kevin James' character, basically, they had to immerse themselves into the gay community.
Right.
And in the process of doing that, they cover a lot of very negative and unfortunate aspects of
being gay.
Of being gay that people who are gay deal with every day. For example, they cover the fact that there's rampant homophobia among firehouses in New York City.
Yeah, that's actually a big thing. Actually, cops and firemen, they touched on that in Will and Grace, actually.
They also touched on that in the show that I like called Rescue Me, which I need to finish that.
Which that's what I mean, though. It sounds like kind of like it's like a Mel Brooks type style thing where they were trying to point out what the fuck was wrong with homophobia.
Well, it wasn't exactly.
But a lot of people don't get nuance and context either.
Well, here's the thing. When you look at a movie like that, if you're the kind of person who is easily swept up by outrage culture, or someone who gets one of these unfortunate articles that misinforms you,
or they don't understand it enough, so they just develop the same opinion everybody else has. Some people have that problem.
That movie is very easy to misunderstand. It's a movie that's very easy to misunderstand. But once you see it, you realize that it's actually a very pro-gay movie. A lot of there's characters in it who represent many different kinds of being gay. There are characters who are willing to play some of the horrible gay, anti-gay villains that existed in society, that the homosexual community had, the queer community in general had to be forced to deal with.
I'm a queer person, so I have to check it out.
It's part of the reason I checked it out is because I found out what gay was around the same time.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, it was like within the same amount of years.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I didn't know any. I didn't. I was only just now meeting people who were queer, and I wanted to understand people who were queer better because I'm straight. I never had these.
I'm surprised you didn't meet more living in New York, though.
Well, like I said, I didn't go out much. You know.
Well, even in school and stuff, it's kind of surprising.
No, not real. I think I knew one gay kid in 4th grade named Raymond, but I don't even know if he was gay. I just think he was gay now, based on what my knowledge is now and how he acted then.
But you wanted to see also, like, you wanted to get your own information.
Yeah, but yeah, I wanted to expand how I saw people, because I didn't have a problem with gay people or anything, but I was also ignorant to them. I didn't know anything about them, and this movie was accessible to me, which is why I checked it out after it too got on HBO. I caught it, and by the way, we give a lot of shout outs to HBO. HBO need to sponsor us.
Yeah, we do, in FX too. Jesus, we
and
talk
FX.
About
God damn it, do we love FX?
There's another Adam Sandler movie I really, really love called Airheads. Have you seen that?
Airheads.
It was a 94 film that started Adam Sandler, Steve Buscemi, and Brendan Fraser. It was based,
I did not. I've heard of it. I haven't seen it.
Loosely on a true story, basically. But it's not to give too much away. But it's basically they're aspiring musicians, and they're also kind of fucking idiots. Actually, incidentally, the music in the movie was great.
Really?
But yeah. So basically, what the synopsis is aspiring rock musicians Chaz, Pip, and Rex, played by Brendan Fraser, Adam Sandler, and Steve Buscemi, are determined to have their band's demo tape played on the air, so out of desperation, they sneak into a LA radio station, but when the manager, Michael McKean, played by Michael McKean, Michael McKean, please follow me, I love you so much, Lenny forever, motherfucker. He meets them with hostility and threatens them. They start, no, he doesn't threaten them, but he tells them to, leave and stuff. They resort to threatening him with realistic-looking water pistols, and they kind of basically end up holding this radio station hostage.
Yeah.
It was really good. And I cannot say enough about Adam Sandler, but I especially cannot say enough about Brendan Fraser, who went through a lot of shit and is an incredible actor. And I love, and Steve Buscemi, who I mentioned earlier, a friend of mine worked with Steve Buscemi and said he was just absolutely just as sweet as he comes off as.
Ironically, speaking of Steve Buscemi and firemen, Steve Buscemi was a former fireman.
I was about to tell that story.
In fact, Steve Buscemi, when 9/11 happened, he volunteered to help firemen during 9/11.
That is a person I could stand behind for the rest of my fucking life. I swear to God.
So if you're one of these people that's starting to believe that there are no good celebrities in this world, Steve Buscemi is a good one.
No, everybody needs to just send Steve Buscemi all the love.
Yeah.
And I cannot say enough about that one. That's definitely one you have to check out for sure.
A movie and this is one of Adam Sandler's silly movies. And when he goes silly, he goes silly. And he like the only person that could rival Adam Sandler silly is Ben Stiller, which we'll do an episode about him eventually.
Yeah, the Stillers in general.
We love the Stillers.
Especially since R.I.P. Jerry.
Jerry Stiller recently passed away, I think, I don't know, 5 days ago.
And, his wife passed a few years back.
Yeah.
I know that.
5 days ago as of this recording, rather.
Yeah.
But, so the movie that I want to talk about now is a movie called You Don't Mess with the Zohan. Yeah, I saw
parts of that. I didn't really finish it, but I just couldn't really get into it.
That movie is so damn silly. It's literally okay. Adam Sandler plays an Israeli secret super agent. Like, he can dodge bullets. He can kick people without bending over. He's
a badass.
He's a badass. He's crazy. But, that was just a silly movie. And the reason I bring that up is because it's piggybacks on something Lindsey said earlier. When you're an actor who does comedy or drama, people want to lock you in to certain roles. Adam Sandler has been fortunate
to be able to bend and flex.
Right. Adam Sandler, which is what Zohan does a lot in this movie. Adam Sandler has been fortunate enough to actually own his own production company, or part of it, Happy Gilmore, and he's been able to explore a lot of different avenues.
Happy Gilmore is his movie Happy Madison.
Happy Madison.
Of Happy Gilmore and Billy Madison that came out a year apart.
Oh, that's what it is. Okay, Happy Madison is the name of the company. But he owns he partially owns Happy Madison. And it's allowed him to do a lot of work. He's also done work outside of Happy Madison, which I think Uncut Gems was not a Happy Madison.
No, it was like an independent company, if I'm not mistaken. But he's always delivered, no matter what it was. And to touch on Adam Sandler some more, we got to touch on his SNL days. Back when SNL was still really good.
He's an SNL alumni, just like Chris Rock, who was in the Grown Ups movies, which we're not going to talk about those.
No, we're not going to talk about those.
We're not going to talk about those.
But he was brilliant then, and that's where he got his start, and that's something that we have to acknowledge while we talk about his career and his successes. Adam Sandler was one of the funniest SNL alums to date. Yeah. And he was funny on the show, which I've seen so many people on SNL that were great actors and horrible on the fucking show.
According to IMDb, Adam Sandler was on Saturday Night Live from 1990 to 1995.
For 5 years.
Yeah.
Which is a good chunk of his life. And that was back, when SNL still had some meat to it. It was a really good show back in the day.
It looks like Billy Madison came out in his final year.
Yeah, that's SNL. Roughly around the same time. Exactly. That's when he started doing more films for himself.
And Happy Gilmore came out a year after that, 96.
As we wrap up, I'd like to point out one Adam Sandler movie that I thought was good, but I can't enjoy because it gets me so mad, which is ironically Anger Management.
I love Anger Management. That movie's my shit.
First of all,
me and my sister Jennifer love Anger Management.
I have always been a Jack Nicholson fan. I have been a Jack Nicholson fan since I was knee high, which was just last week. So, Jack Nicholson is somebody who's influenced my career, and as a person in general. I've always loved his movies like Witches of Eastwick. I mean, you can't go wrong with some Jack Nicholson. And he was so good in his role to the point where I wanted to punch him in the mouth. I could not, the whole point of the movie I know is to get frustrated with, Adam's character. But the problem is I myself have some anger issues. So all that did was piss me the fuck off and make me leave with severe blood pressure and a neck vein to the point where I thought Hilda Spellman was going to come out of nowhere and be like, Lindsey, blood pressure. Yeah. Dude, I get so fucking mad watching that movie, dude.
I love Jack Nicholson, and I've been a big fan of his as well. I've been a fan of his since The Shining.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's what I mean. Jack Nicholson is one of the most amazing actors of our time.
Yeah.
And I mean, he was great in he was in Terms of Endearment with Shirley MacLaine.
Yeah.
I mean, he's fucking phenomenal.
No, he's amazing. He was the first Joker to be in a movie.
He was my favorite version.
No, he
of the
wasn't.
Joker.
He was the second, but he was Tim Burton's Joker.
Yeah, he was. That's my boy right there. But he obviously played his role very well because I was furious by the time I left that movie. So it's not that I don't like that movie. I just, for my own fucking health, I don't watch it.
I love the scene where Jack Nicholson, he moves in with Adam Sandler in Anger Management. and then Adam Sandler makes him eggs. And then Jack Nicholson takes the plate and throws it against the wall, and he goes, "I said over easy!" And then he sits down, and he's just like, "All right, well, what do we learn about anger from that?"
Yeah, and Jack has that very cool, like, so what did we learn about anger? Yeah. Like that very, almost like Christian Slater type voice.
Well, and Christian Slater
based a lot of his voice off of Jack Nicholson.
Yeah, Jack Nicholson is that
Christian
cool.
Slater, Christian Slater is amazing too, so that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
especially he played up to that a lot in the movie Heathers.
Right,
but no, Jack was so good in that role. Like the I Feel Pretty scene, I have never wanted to throw a grown man out a window so fucking hard.
That's a painful scene to get through.
The whole movie. There was a huge phase of my life where I wanted nothing more than to make out with Jack Nicholson, and that entire movie made me want to throw that man off the roof of the biggest skyscraper in New York City. I was so fucking furious. By the time you got to the baseball stadium during that really intense scene with like the big reveal happens or whatever, remember at the end of where he like goes to the baseball?
Oh yeah. Right.
I'm pretty sure I had a nosebleed.
I was so stressed out.
I'm in the audience going, "I feel pretty, oh so pretty and witty and stop."
See, this is why when we left the theater at Uncut Gems, you standing on the corner,
shaking and smoking, like
shivering like the chick in the end of Waiting.
First of all, Naomi
from Waiting,
from Waiting is like basically me as a person when I'm mad. Like, me when I work in customer service. If anybody's ever seen the movie Waiting, there's this little woman who's about like 5'0", played by Alana Ubach, who is so goddamn fucking mad all the time, and she's super nice to her customers, but behind the scenes, she's always yelling at people, and she's always shaking with rage and chain smoking.
Yeah,
that's me in customer service, which is why I'm trying so hard to, get rich off this podcast. So follow us at Jug O Sip Podcast. So I don't have to go back to customer service after COVID-19, and I don't have to chain smoke and angrily scream into the air during my breaks. There's a scene where, in Waiting, where Alana Ubach's coming around the corner to go meet a table, and she cracks her fucking neck, and then suddenly comes around smiling, and she's like, "So, what has everybody decided on?" And I'm like, I feel so personally fucking attacked.
Oh, that was such a good scene. Oh my God, the
Sunday thing, and she's like, "Need a fucking Sunday." So like and then when she finds out the whipped cream's empty, and she finds out those two fucking Juggalo stoner kids were up doing whippets and shit, she's like, "Fucking T-Dog."
I think she plays one of those creepy ass swingers in a haunted house, the Marlon Wayans.
First of all, Alana Ubach has been on Beekman's World. She was the cute lesbian in the Brady Bunch movie.
What?
Remember the cute lesbian that had a crush on Marsha?
Oh yeah, right. Okay.
Remember I was like squealing over her about that during my episode of that?
I feel you.
No, it's literally like she's amazing, but like I have like never related to a fictional character so fucking hard in my life when it comes to like how I work with people.
Yeah.
I am so not designed for that life.
Yeah. But we can wrap up because we got like 10 minutes left.
Yeah,
but,
and I mean, we just wanted, like, basically this whole episode was just to say, we want to promote Adam Sandler's a movie coming out on Netflix. We want to spread some love to people we admire and cherish, because as we make our name in the entertainment world, we still want to make a tribute to everybody who's done something for us.
Hopefully one day we can get Adam Sandler on the show as a guest and just talk to him.
I mean, that'd be great. Like, eventually we'd like to get some people that we admire on the show, and even people we may not even necessarily agree with. Like, we kind of want to run our podcast like the Joe Rogan experience, where like we have people on of all walks of life. It could be the most interesting homeless man in the world to someone like Jeff Bezos, who everybody hates, but is probably a very interesting interview.
Yeah.
We're kind of just open to...
I mean, he had Ted Nugent and Roseanne on, and Elon Musk.
And they all were very interesting interviews.
Yeah. Not the easiest personalities in the world.
No, but that's what I mean. We're open to interviewing people. So even if you're a fan of our podcast, and you don't have to be a big name celebrity, you don't have to be like Johnny Depp or Adam Sandler or any of those people.
You just got to not be boring.
If you have something interesting you want to share, or an opinion, it doesn't even have to be something that agrees with us. We just want to hear you out. If you have a project you want to promote, feel free to reach out to us at jugasippodcast@gmail.com or on any of our social media. We love talking to interesting people. I mean, Charles and I are very interesting together, but you can only listen to us fucking flap our mouths too long, So
it's a flap, like a Terry flap,
like a rat hole,
like a rat hole.
You can only listen to us flap our rat hole so long.
All right, so final remarks. Uncut Gems comes out on Netflix May 15th. I believe that is this upcoming Monday.
Yeah.
please watch this goddamn. Yeah, please watch this goddamn movie.
Please,
it's a good movie.
And especially if you were a person who doesn't like Adam Sandler, watch that fucking movie.
Yeah.
Challenge yourself to remove the stone wall because it's really fascinating. So for my final remarks, watch Uncut Gems. You know, give Adam Sandler another go. He's great. And Adam Sandler, if you're listening, I love you.
Oh, word of advice. If you're going to watch Uncut Gems, try to have some water around. You will get dehydrated and exhausted.
And also possibly scream.
Yeah. You know.
A lot.
You can't go in there. If you got an anxiety issue, don't go in anxious.
If you are a nail biter, just accept the fact that you're going to probably bite your nails.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Pretty much. Anyway, that being said.
We love you guys. Thank you so much for listening.
All right. See you in the next one.
Bye.